So I wanted to discuss something that has been on my mind for I'm not going to say a very long time, but a couple of months. As I grow and I read and I learn, um, I have had this feeling for a long time. I'm not going to say a feeling, this understanding for a long time that I think I'm ready to share. Don't come at me. But you know that scripture that says like the stone that the builders rejected. I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna pull it up. Give me a minute. Okay, so it is in Psalms 118 verse 22, and it says, "The stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone." And so when I think about that scripture, um, you know how we venerate those who we call the pillars of our society. So we have these pillars, and what are pillars made of? They're made of stone. All these buildings, these grand buildings that we use as a symbol of strength and vitality and of our ingenuity and our genius and these buildings. But the stone that the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. So, what is a cornerstone? Let's find out. So, a cornerstone is the first stone set in a building's foundation, serving as the reference point for alignment, stability, and often ceremonial or symbolic purposes. Structural purpose. The cornerstone is traditionally the first stone placed in the construction of a masonry foundation, establishing the orientation and geometry of the entire building. Builders use it as a reference. Builders use it as a reference. Builders use the cornerstone as a reference to ensure that walls are square, vertical, and properly aligned. So if you want to be properly aligned, you have to consider the cornerstone. You have to always look to the cornerstone if you are building anything, societies included. So if we are the builders of society, we have to find that cornerstone. Okay, so it often supports the corner where two load-bearing walls meet, providing enhanced strength and stability to the structure. Masons stretch plumb lines and string lines from the cornerstone to guide the placement of subsequent stones or bricks, ensuring the building is constructed accurately. Ceremonially, over time, the cornerstone gained cultural and ceremonial importance. Laying the cornerstone often involves a public ritual, sometimes including inscriptions, offerings, or time capsules containing documents, coins, artifacts. That speaks so much to what it is that I am trying to say. Artifacts to commemorate the building's construction. In religious architecture, cornerstones may contain relics or be blessed as part of a sacred dedication. Symbolically, the cornerstone represents strength, stability, and the foundation upon which the rest of the structure or community is built. Historical and cultural context. And I typed in to Google what is a cornerstone. And I'm reading, and I'm assuming that this is Copilot. So Copilot is the AI answer. Historical and cultural context. Historically, cornerstones were sometimes aligned with astronomical points for harmony and prosperity, reflecting ancient beliefs about celestial influence. In biblical texts, the cornerstone is a metaphor for Christ, described as the chief cornerstone that unifies and guides the faithful, emphasizing the importance of a solid foundation in both architectural and spiritual life. So, what is it that I am saying? The cornerstone, that the stone that the builders rejected, is the cornerstone for building anything. Without, as I just read, without the cornerstone is the thing that sets the foundation of anything that you're building, whether it be an actual building or whether it be a society. So what if we're looking at our day, our era, what is the cornerstone that the builders of society has rejected? And when I say the builders of society, I'm not talking about politicians. I'm not only talking about politicians and the lawmakers. I'm talking about families, schools, any system where people are working together. That is a society. So what we're looking at, what we're experiencing is a society as a whole. And somewhere society has agreed, the society that we have, it is either the people voted for this or the people were perceived to have voted for this. So that proves that what society is all of us, whether you are a voter, whether you are a politician, whether you are a child, if you're building anything that has any kind of structural meaning for your life, your family, or society, there has to be a cornerstone. Now, what Psalms 118:22 is saying is that the stone that the builders of society, that the builders of society has rejected, is in fact the cornerstone. Okay? And so we have to look at, I will further go, thank you, Spirit, we'll further go to, I think it's Matthew 25, that says, let me go there. Okay, so Matthew 25:40 says, truly I tell you, whatever you did for, and whatever you do for or to the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. And further down, it said, whatever you did not do for or to the least of these, you did not do for me. Now, we all know that scripture, right? We know that's the scripture where they're talking about, the wheats and the tares, the goats and the sheep. When did we see you starving? When did we see you hungry? When did we do this? When did we do that? And the Spirit said, what you did for the least of these, you have done for me. Okay. And I think earlier this year, I put out a video saying that we can actually applying that to daily life. Who do we consider the least of these? And I will say it, the Black woman, most in particular, the Black American Indigenous woman. The cornerstone that the builders reject on a constant basis is the cornerstone. The stone that the builders reject on a constant basis is the Black American or Indigenous Salon FBA woman. And I say that because look at how society treats. And I am not, I study politics and I follow it. I have stepped away from politics, but the perfect example of this would be the last election in Texas with Jasmine Crockett, rejected. Stacey Abrams, rejected. Kamala Harris, rejected. We have heard story after story, and we have lived. All of us have. I don't care who. At this point, on this here, what's today? March 27th, 2026. On this here, March 27th, 2026, how can we say that, like the Black indigenous woman of North America is not the stone that the builders rejected? Think about Project 2025 and how it was the Black American indigenous woman who came out and started saying, hey, we might want to pay attention to what's in this here agenda. Rejected. Think about all the politicians and all the Black women that, whenever somebody wants to make money online, what do? They get online and they accost the American indigenous woman, the stone that the builders rejected. Whenever society wants to blame anything on anybody, even, if the children are acting up, it had to be the mothers. The stone the builders rejected. Everybody knows demographically that the Black indigenous American woman is the most educated demographic on this continent. But when it came down to this DEI crap and all this stuff, we are the ones that train the people that's going to become our bosses. The stone the builders rejected. We are the ones that when we put forth anything, it gets ignored. It gets construed like we are indeed the stone that the builders rejected. And so that is what I came here to say. Until the world learns to do right by the American Indian Black woman, we are the original. We are descendants of the original peoples of this planet. And dare I say, we are the last. We are the remnant of the descendants of the protectors of this earth. We're the ones that connect. We can feel it. We can sense it. And so that's why we're always out there speaking on it. And so that's just something that I wanted to put out there, that the indigenous woman of North America is the stone that the builders continually to reject. And the more that stone is rejected, remember that cornerstone is what sets the whole foundation of the whole building. And so you can say, whatever you want about, whatever commentary that you want about what I'm saying here. But the only stone that has been consistently rejected is the American indigenous Black woman. We are the ones that set society. We're the ones that's trying to put everything together. We're the ones that have the education to see. We've done the studies. We've done the research. We've done the work. We're still doing the work. We have been doing the work. We have been, our work has been bastardized and it's been taken from us and bastardized. If it doesn't come from a man, in most people's perspective, then it ain't came from nothing. It ain't nothing. And then, my sisters, my indigenous, my Black, my Salon, my FBA, whatever you want to call yourselves, my sisters, you know what it is that I'm talking about. And so if we want to fix this society, we have to put forth a greater effort at listening to, responding to, accepting, acknowledging, protecting, and loving the indigenous American Solon FBA black woman. We are the stone that the builders constantly reject. And the more that we, the stones, are rejected, the more society begins to fall. Not begins, because it had begun a very long time ago. And so what does that mean? What does that mean? I want to go back to the scripture that said, let us make them in our image. And so who was us? We ask that question all the time. Who was that talking? I'm going to go to scripture. Hold on. Okay, so Genesis 1:26. And God said, let us make humans. See, the word says man, but see, that is the lie. We're not just man. We are man and woman. So what should have been said is, let us make them, or let us make, humans, let us make man and woman after our own image. So let's go back to that. So Genesis 1:26 says, and God said, let us make humans, let's make man and woman, and let us make them in our own image, and let them have dominion over the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing upon the earth. But we have been questioning all this time, well, who is us? Let us. And I think that's where, like, the scripture, got, what's the word I'm looking for? It got manipulated. It took out the woman. It took the woman out of the whole equation and just said, oh, let's make man. Oh, we were, let's make the woman the byproduct of after we make the man. And that's just not true. That's not true. So we have to go to the beginning. We are at a new beginning. We are, oh my God. We are the new Genesis. We are the new beginning. Society is changing. We have exited from, the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius, which is the age of I know. The age of Aquarius is the information age. So all this information is out here. You just gotta go and get it. But I digress. Okay. So who is the people who is saying, let us make them in our image? It is not just a whole bunch of dudes standing around, because if it was a whole bunch of dudes standing around saying, let us make them in our image, then the world would have just been made from a whole bunch of dudes. There would be no women. There would be no females. There would be no wombed people. If a whole bunch of dudes stood around and said, let us make them in our image, there would be only men walking this planet. But that is not it. So who is the them? The them is the masculine and the feminine aspects of the Creator God. See, God has to communicate with us in ways that we understand. And so God split God's self into masculine and feminine so that we can understand what God actually is. And even in that little understanding, we still don't fully understand. But what we can gather from this is that God created male and female, created them both out of the image of God. So that means that God and Goddess are the people who, not the people, are the thing, the entity. And that doesn't mean that, oh, God, the man God is on this side, The woman God is on that side. No, God is one. God is one. God is one. But in God's oneness and in God's fullness, God is both male and female. God is both masculine and feminine. And so in order to create anything in this world, you have to have a masculine, and if you want to create anything in this world that is worth keeping and worth having, think about the mounds, think about the old structures, think about the pyramids. In order to create those things, you have to incorporate both the male and the male, the masculine and feminine aspects of that thing. So the pyramids prove to us that if you break down the geometry of everything that went into building these mounds, the pyramids, all these things that our ancestors build, that they try to hide from us. If you think about it, if you go back and you do the geometry and you break down the semantics, there is both masculine and feminine aspects that created those buildings. It's sacred geometry. And so in order to have that, you have to have, in order to have a good cornerstone for both society and for any building structure that's going to last, you have to have the masculine and the feminine aspect of both. So when we say God, we should be seeing God as God and Goddess. And that's where the stone that the builders rejected, it's the goddess part of that equation. We have dropped her. We have left her. We need to pick her back up and not use her to replace, that male aspect. No, not that at all. We pick her back up so that they can work together. And that is the stone that the builders rejected. The only people in this society right now that are trying to bring about that type of change is the indigenous American woman, the Salon woman, the FBA woman. We are the stones that the builders rejected. We are also a part of this society. And if you want this society to thrive in a meaningful way, that we can, as humanity, can continue to evolve, you have to bring yourself to come to love, accept the Black, indigenous, Salon, FBA American woman. We are the stones that the builders rejected. And all of this proves all of that. And so what you will see now, if we are the stones that the builders rejected, those are, we have people who are currently running this world, running this country, who categorically and purposefully reject the Black woman. And so if you are in the presence of anybody who does that, that's not a presence that you need to be around. If you're in a society, if you're in a construction of any kind, whether it be a building, you building a business, you building a school, you building a co-op, you building anything that you're building, if the cornerstone, if the stone or the cornerstone of that building does not incorporate the mutual love, respect, acceptance of the American, indigenous, Salon, FBA woman, Black, us, women, you can build it, but it will not last. I think that's all I have to say. This feels great. God bless.